You're listening to the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Bill McIntyre, and it's time for this week's Long Island News, the show that talks to newsmakers and other important people from Nassau and Suffolk County that matter to Long Island and Long Islanders like you. So each week we'll have a conversation about issues that affect all of us. I live on Long Island just like you, and I want to know more about the people making the big decisions that affect all of us. My guest this week is New York State Senator Kevin Thomas from New York's 6th District, who is the Assistant Majority Leader on House Operations and Chairman of the Committee on Consumer Protection. Mr. Thomas also has declared himself a candidate for Congress in New York's 4th Congressional District as a Democrat to try to unseat Anthony D'Esposito this November.
Hello.
Hello.
You really have a radio voice.
So do you.
So I am driving from Albany down to Long Island. So if I get cut off, please forgive me.
Yeah, no, we'll deal with it. Not a problem. Just wanted to welcome you back to the show.
Yes.
Thanks for spending some time. But okay, I have a list of things. Let's shoot right off the top. First off, what's your opinion of where we are? Where we're at now. So much has happened this year in Congress, including the many votes to elect 2 speakers of the House and the expulsion of George Santos. Tell me your thoughts on the state of the federal government right now.
State of the federal government right now is that they don't know how to govern. You have a majority party, which is the Republicans, who have extremists and those that prop them up. You have a party that does not know when to, push for good things for the people of this country versus getting sound bites on TV. That's where we are right now.
Right. Now, so for those who don't know that much about you, vetting candidates after the George Santos issue was a big deal. So what do people need to know about you?
So, number one, I haven't committed fraud. One. Second, I am a sitting state senator, and up to, just a month ago, I represented half of the 4th Congressional District. All right, and I have been representing the South Shore of Nassau County for the past 6 years in office. That's 3 terms. I am a former legal services attorney. I was fighting the good fight in court, defending people when they get sued over consumer debt. I'm now the chair of the Consumer Protection Committee and a strong advocate for bringing resources back to Long Island. So that's in a nutshell who I am.
Right. You got to make a lot of trips to Albany, no?
Yes, I do. 6 months out of the year. I mean, I'm driving down right now from Albany. So
right, my goodness. All right. So who's up against you in the primary? I know former Hempstead Town Supervisor Laura Gillen has spoken with us already. Now, what makes you the stronger Democratic choice?
Well, here's the thing. I have been tried and tested. I have won 3 elections in a row. 2 of them were elections that no one thought I would make it. In 2018, I flipped a red seat to blue. I did that with not much money or with much support from the local party, but I was able to knock on doors and get people to the polls. In 2020, I was targeted by the NYPD PBA as well as other interests, and I still made it. I am still here.
Okay, well, now, back in November, Newsday had reported that Anthony D'Esposito continued to raise more than his Democratic rivals, including you. Has anything changed in terms of fundraising and what you're planning to use those funds on most?
So here's the thing. I have been in this race since July. And, it is a tough climate out there, but I am raising money. You have an incumbent that the party is trying to protect because they have a razor thin majority and they don't want to lose him, so they're going to put as much money in this as possible. I am looking forward to getting the support from my local unions, my local groups here, as well as the rest of the country. So I am focused on raising as much as I can.
Right. And what if any, what are your thoughts on we're having a special election in the 3rd District that's coming up on the 13th? What are your thoughts on that between Democrat Tom Suozzi and Republican Mazi Pilip?
Well, here's the thing. That district, when Santos was a representative, didn't really have a representative.
Right.
All right. Now we are neck and neck. We have a good candidate on the Democrat side with Tom Suozzi. He has done this before. He is working hard day and night. He is knocking on doors. We have local unions and groups coming out just to make sure that Democrats know that there's a special election on February 13th and that they should vote row A all the way. So we are 100% in on this, and I believe that the Democrats can take this.
Yes, right. Now, it doesn't come as much of a surprise to me, but as a Democrat, you voted to codify Roe v. Wade into law as a state senator, protecting access to a safe legal abortion in New York. Now, could you explain your position on that rather controversial topic?
Absolutely. Listen, there should be only 2 individuals that should have a say in abortion, right? Mm-hmm. It is the doctor and the woman.
Right.
Okay. Government is now coming in and restricting access in different parts of the country. In New York, we wanted to make sure that women had the right to a healthcare decision that is incredibly private to them. And that's why I voted the way I did. Right. All right. And, we have to continue to protect women's right here. Because around the country, there are laws in place that are trying to punish the doctors that perform abortion. Mm-hmm. There are laws to restrict women from even leaving the state to do this. Here in New York, we wanted to make sure once we come to the majority, we stood tall and we made sure that women were protected here in New York.
Yeah. I think historically, I remember growing up, I think anybody that had broached these topics and wanted to take away these things would have been vilified in those days. And today we just kind of look the other way for a lot of things. Never in my life have I seen a candidate who's been charged with 91 criminal offenses even able to be up as a candidate for an office, no less the President of the United States.
Absolutely. I mean, this is really hard to watch an individual like this who's also using his campaign funds to pay off his legal expenses. Yeah, right. There's so much here, and I am disgusted by what I see. This individual should not be a nominee for any party, and now he is the leading contender. Yeah. And, this is how far right the Republican Party has come now. Yeah. So, let me do some business here. You're listening to this week's Long Island News on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Bill McIntyre, and my guest today is New York State Senator Kevin Thomas from New York's 6th District, who is the Assistant Majority Leader on House Operations and Chairman of the Committee on Consumer Protection. Mr. Thomas has also declared himself a candidate for Congress in New York's 4th Congressional District as a Democrat to try to unseat Anthony D'Esposito this November. Today, Mr. Thomas, it's pretty strange. They're showing commercials on TV with D'Esposito talking about impeaching the head of Homeland Security.
because of the immigration problem. Meanwhile, there's a bill on the table that was a bipartisan bill. Both Republicans and Democrats hammered it out, but the Speaker of the House refuses it to bring it to a vote, and they're just because Donald Trump needs something to run on.
So here is exactly what I was talking about in the very beginning, where you have Republicans that just don't know how to govern, and they want immigration to be an issue, especially for the November elections, so that it gets really bad out there, and for some reason they think this will go their way.
Yeah.
All right. And listen, the immigration system is broken. All right. I think both sides can agree on that. Mm-hmm. But when you have the Republicans in the Senate saying, let's make a deal, but the House of Representatives says no, it shows how right-wing they have become and that they really do not know how to govern.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get to something a little more local. Let's talk about taxes and that SALT cap. It's a hot topic to eliminate, and that was the Trump tax plan item. What do you think we can do about fixing that issue for Long Islanders if you get elected?
So here's the thing, right? The Republicans did this to themselves when they voted for that tax overhaul, and now you have a number of Congress members who represent the island trying to undo it and thinking that their leadership will allow for that to happen. I find this very strange, but when I get there, I'm going to make sure this is a priority. Mm-hmm. And that, we can make it affordable to live here on Long Island. And the Republicans are doing the very opposite.
Yeah,
and have been doing that for years on it.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we as voters have to do is, there are a lot of senators now going back to their home states and taking credit for the infrastructure deal and for the money that's going to pour into their states when they effectively voted against it while they were in D.C. Mm-hmm. I think we need to get a checklist. And when some senator is in their home state saying how great this deal is, we need to check and then we can ask them, then why did you vote against it? They shouldn't be they shouldn't be able to celebrate with their constituents about something great that happened when they had nothing to do with it.
Absolutely. And this is where messaging comes to play. This is where, journalists like yourself and others have to call them out. And I know a member of Congress was called out in a different state when they tried to take credit for something that the Democrats did.
Right.
They have to show, hey, they voted against this. This was party line. They did not think about their community. Instead, they wanted politics to win over people.
Yeah.
This is what upsets constituents of mine. Mm-hmm. They vote. And they elect individuals to go to D.C., but they see nothing in return.
Yeah.
And this is why, I am running against Diaz-Esposito, because he cannot campaign on one thing that he has done for the district since becoming a member of Congress.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, there are quite a few things, but the SALT thing was one of the big ones. Now, Congress has had a short extension on the federal budget over the last session, right? They keep voting to fund the government for a couple of months, and then it has to come up again. What are your thoughts on a long-term deal?
This is supposed to be a bipartisan effort to make sure government runs. And you have one party that just does not want, to do the right thing. They want the extremists in their party to move their agenda versus, looking at the big picture. What is best for the American people? And they're not actually putting that as a priority. Instead, they want to impeach Mayorkas, or they want to impeach the president, or they want to get the president's son into a hearing, and when he shows up, they don't want him to testify. I mean, this is the kind of circus that we are seeing right now in Congress, and this is why they can't get the people's work done.
Yeah, well, we spoke before just a little bit about the, how the senator would go back to their home state and take credit for, things that they didn't do when the state's getting, all that money. I think this is the same reason why, I never voted for Hunter Biden. I actually never saw him on a ballot. He had nothing to do with me in my life. They're mad at him because he didn't answer a subpoena because they want him to testify in a closed-door session. But seeing as how it's kind of difficult, and traditionally Republicans don't seem to be telling the truth in any of these aisles, any outlet, I can understand why he doesn't. He's agreed to come into an open session of Congress and testify. I mean, that should be very telling to people who can think at all, the reasons why he's not coming forward. I don't blame him. This is there's a big problem that we have in the country simply with finding the truth and then telling it.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, but we have smart voters out there, that can cut through what they are seeing on TV with these kind of hearings. And they know that these are politically motivated, and there's actually no fact behind what they're trying to do here.
Yeah. Now, on your website, you've mentioned in your current role that you've strengthened the gun safety laws. What are your thoughts on that and the nationwide picture, of course, on that issue?
Absolutely. About 2 years ago, actually it was last year, the horrible Buffalo shooting took place. And we saw that this 18-year-old was able to go to a gun store and purchase a semi-automatic rifle. I introduced a piece of legislation that increased the age to 21 for individuals to go and purchase something like this. So when you turn 21, you have to go through the background checks. You have to go through certain evaluations before you get a semi-automatic, just like when you apply for a pistol license. Now, I am not trying to, infringe on someone's Second Amendment rights. That right is there. But these are individuals, that are out there trying to get a gun for very bad reasons, as we saw in Buffalo. And we need nationwide laws like this. Red flag laws, raising the age, better background checks. We just don't have that. And this needs to change.
We had an automatic weapons ban at one time. Why couldn't we put that back in place?
I wish I had an answer for that.
Right. Well, I mean, partly because it probably makes too much sense.
Probably, and the NRA has a lot of lobbying power out in Congress, and I am happy that AG Tish James is on them as well, suing to make sure that they are held accountable for any misdeeds that they're doing here in New York.
Yeah. Well, now I also noticed. I mean, you are the chairman of the Consumer Protection Committee. I wanted to ask you, it seems as though, we all get a cell phone. Do you actually personally know anybody that actually read all of the information on what's included with that phone before they accepted, and signed the bottom line? Did any of us read that thing?
Are you talking about the terms and conditions before you start service?
Yes, and I'm using the cell phone as an example, but it comes with many things. I mean,
yes. I am sure the attorney that drafted that document probably did, but many of us out here don't.
Right.
They just stroll through it, acknowledge, and then sign off on it.
Yeah.
And there are consequences for all of that, because a lot of your data is being collected and shared and used to manipulate you into purchasing things or make you
responsible.
Decide in one way.
Right, make you responsible for things you weren't aware of. I think, though, in the last I don't know how long, maybe 20 years, I guess I could say, consumer protections have been eroded drastically. In many of those agreements, we as consumers are not allowed to even go to court. We have to go to an arbitrator that the company picks.
Yes.
How did that happen? How did we let that go on?
That is something that took place in the federal government with lobbying done by big companies like this. To stop individuals from suing when one of their rights is infringed on. And when I go to Congress, I will work towards trying to change all of that. Yeah, because you have a right to decide, what these companies share about you, and if they're sharing too much and you didn't give them permission to do all of that, you should have a right to sue them for them.
Right, you should have some recourse. Let me do some more business. You're listening to this week's Long Island News on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Bill McIntyre, and my guest today is New York State Senator Kevin Thomas from New York's 6th District, who is the Assistant Majority Leader on House Operations and Chairman of the Committee on Consumer Protection. Mr. Thomas has also declared himself a candidate for Congress in New York's 4th Congressional District as a Democrat to try to unseat Anthony D'Esposito this November. Consumer protections. I mean, it's big. We see the big cases, the lady who spilled the hot coffee in her lap and, got millions for being, and everybody was up in arms about that and thought it was terrible until they heard that the company that made the coffee has been doing that for years. So this was one instance and a snapshot in history. And yet how many other people could have gone through the same exact thing she did and never said anything, because we as consumers are pretty sure we don't have any rights.
What happened to her, I think you're referencing the McDonald's hot coffee case.
You're correct.
This wasn't any small burn that she encountered. It literally burned her skin. Yeah. It was severe. I reviewed that case back in law school, and I can tell you it wasn't like you and I spilling coffee and then going around suing for it. Yeah, right. This was severe burns to her thighs. Yeah. And the jury found that this company should have warned her. Yeah. And there needs to be better warning, and a cup of coffee should not be as hot as lava.
Yeah, But in many of these instances, though, the company will pay the fine and just consider it the cost of doing business.
Yes, and that is something that needs to change in federal government, and what we can do in Congress to try and hold these companies accountable for violating multiple rights and just getting away with it. Yeah,
it's kind of scary. I also think talking to some of the people out in the street and talking to young kids and things. It's interesting to know that in schools, even in elementary school, and I think we should be teaching it, the Constitution. That's where all of our rights are combined in a document that we can read and know what our rights are. But I can't ever honestly remember in all of my schooling coming up whether we addressed the Constitution directly.
That is a great question. I don't remember either from my high school days whether they really went into it.
Yeah.
I know when I was in law school in constitutional law class, we had, a deep dive into all the amendments and the cases behind it.
Mm-hmm.
But for those that are in high school, they and many kids, when they graduate, they don't seem to understand the importance of the Constitution, of the Bill of Rights, how it was ratified, and what it took to get us to this point.
Yeah.
It is a living document, and we owe our livelihoods to what it says and how the courts interpret it, and how we live our lives right now.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, we've spoken for about a half an hour. There's only a few moments left, but what would you like to say to the listening audience, and what would you like them to know?
Well, number one, I moved to Long Island to raise my family. I live here with my wife and my 5-year-old and my dog, Cyrus. And we live in an amazing community out here in Levittown. And I've been proud to represent parts of Nassau County for the past 6 years now. And it would be an honor to represent the 4th Congressional District.
My guest today has been New York State Senator Kevin Thomas from New York's 6th District, who is the Assistant Majority Leader in House Operations and Chairman of the Committee on Consumer Protection. Mr. Thomas has also declared himself a candidate for Congress in New York's 4th Congressional District as a Democrat to try to unseat Anthony D'Esposito. And Mr. Thomas, thank you so much for spending some time and distracting yourself while driving.
I'm paying attention to the road. Don't worry.
Good. Technology can help you do that. Again,
Absolutely.
We want to thank you very much for spending some time with us, and we'll talk to you soon, because I know you're going to continue the battle, continue the fight. So we thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, sir.
All righty. We'll talk to you soon. Well, the clock on the wall says it's time for this week's Long Island News to get on out of here. I'm Bill McIntyre. Remember, you can listen to us by searching for this week's Long Island News wherever you listen to podcasts. And we're right here on the radio every Friday at 3 p.m. on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.